One, two. Welcome everybody back to Boost Emotion, guys. And today we got the top 15 best Infiniti vehicles ever made by an article from Slash Gear. But guys, before I get into the video, if you are a subscriber to the channel, that means that you got the notification and that means you already hit the like button. Please and thank you. And if you are new to this video, new to this channel, watch this video and watch some other videos. And if you enjoy this content, definitely hit the subscribe button with the bell notification and hit all. But you already know, guys, you already know what to do. Let's hit that intro. Welcome everybody back to Boost in Motion, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Thank you. So welcome back, everybody. So this should be a new month now whenever I'm dropping this video, and you see that I am working on the studio. So guys, please continue to support this channel. Definitely continue to hit the like button. I know I already asked, but I gotta ask again because sometimes you guys just forget. So I really appreciate if you guys hit the like button, just look at the like counter and just gently tap it. But anyway, guys, I want to do a quick screen share to this article from Slash Gear. Now, Slash Gear says the 15 best Infiniti cars of all time. Now, the it doesn't really mean already. I just want you guys to know, it doesn't really mean that these cars came out. Some of them are prototypes, but they did their own compilation on what they believe is some of the best Infiniti vehicles. So we already see a Q50 Black S there, but they're just going to talk about certain things. We're not going to really get into it. But number one, if anyone doesn't know what this is the Infiniti Q50 in Rouge or E-Rouge. Don't beat me up for pronunciation, guys. Don't beat me up. But pretty much, this Q50 was a Q50 that they put a GTR motor in, and they made it with a 7-speed automatic from our car, not a dual clutch, and they just never released the car. It was pretty much like something that's a one-off to just try to get us to buy the Infiniti vehicle, and they ended up just giving us the baby motor, the VR30, rather than VR38. Mind you, they took that same VR38 and put it in a Nissan Juke and sold those for like $400,000, $500,000. Like Nissan, it did that, but they didn't want to do this in the Q50. They just did that to really just show off. There's really nothing here that they really need to speak about, but they pretty much decided not to make this car, unfortunately. Second car, the Infiniti Q45. I actually really grew up to this car, and I used to see these cars with like 19 and 20-inch chrome grills all the time. Pretty much, V8 came V8 powered. Car was launched with 51 dealers across U.S. and aimed to take on the European and American luxury brands that dominate the market. Motor Trend used the BMW 7 Series and the Benz 560 SL as a benchmark, but in reality, most closely competed with the LS 400 and with 278 horsepower and 0 to 60 of 7.2 seconds. So, and it did a quarter mile in 15 seconds. And to be honest, guys, this is a long time ago, like a long time ago. So, 7 seconds, 0 to 60 was fast back then. 15 seconds in a quarter mile was fast. You know what I'm saying? Um, Let me see if there's anything they here talked about. I did talk about this before. It had cutting edge 4-wheel steering system. Remember the Nissan 300ZX came with 4-wheel steer also. Let me see anything else that popped up here. Not too much really. Nothing that pops up to my head. Now they're saying the Infiniti QX55. Now I personally don't know why they're saying this. I don't know if this is actually in numerical order, but they're throwing this up here. Let's see what some of the things that they said. The company describes this car as a provocative crossover coupe. However, it undercuts both the car's price, undercuts the price of the GLC coupe and the BMW X4. It's roughly $47,000, and it shares the same powertrain and most internal components with the QX50. Now, if you guys don't know, The QX50 and the QX55 uses a variable VC motor or variable compression motor, which pretty much changed the compression ratio, which also means that you can on the fly within depending on how much power you're giving to the pedal, the gas pedal, it can actually change the compression ratio and stroke of the motor. Like it's an innovative motor. It's super dope. Like you can come from a lot of power to a little bit of power, and it's turbo powered. But they made it with a CVT transmission. The car does look good, and I see this car on the road, but I would personally not want to have this car. I would still pick any. I would pick an X4 with a ZF transmission or a GLC with the 9-speed automatic MCT. Those cars are more fun to drive. They just feel more mechanical. This car is a nice car, but it's a decent place to be. But the transmission really does take away whatever feeling it would have been in there. But I'm not the majority of people. He said, in our recent reviews, QX55 found that it handled more sprintly than Infiniti's other crossovers, while plenty of grip available in all conditions. With all-wheel drive, its acceleration was a lot befitting of the athletic styling and one of the most engaging cars to drive in the niche segment. I don't know who said this. I've driven the X4 and the GLC. I haven't driven the GLC, but it's not the same. This one is Infiniti Prototype 10. I remember seeing this a long time ago, 2018. That's like 5 years ago or four. Um, Pretty much, Prototype 10 was a show car built and announced and the brand's intention to transition to low electric power. Pretty much just a concept. The bathtub, because the low driving position meant that only the driver's head could be seen when sitting behind the wheel. Okay, so pretty much this was just them launching an EV I mean, their prototype EV, letting us know they're going more with electrification. 4 or 5 years later, we're still sitting here waiting. In spite Infiniti claiming that cars will be electrified by 2021, at the time of the prototype 10, the reveal the brand doesn't currently offer any EVs at all. However, recently iterated that the plans to make a switch over to electrification in the future, perhaps by 2030. Once again, it's 2022. They still don't have any electrified cars at all. Even they don't even have any hybrids cars on there. Anyway, let's continue to move forward. All right, Infiniti Q50 Red Sport. And we ain't gonna gotta say nothing much, man. This has been an Infiniti channel for quite a long time, and I've told you guys plenty of times. You don't have to get an Infiniti Red Sport. You can get an Infiniti 3.0 T Sport, which they made up to like 2018, 2019, and that's it. You don't need to go get a Red Sport because most of us tune these cars. Pretty much as easy as simple as it is. 400 horsepower, 7-speed automatic, twin turbo motor, 4-door sedan, and still, even though it's a dated car, it's very common car, and I still think it stands out and still blends in quite well. Still love the car for what it is. Infiniti QX80. Now, my friend had a Renault QX80, and it had stadium seating. Like the back seats sit higher than the front, so it's like kind of makes you like you're looking forward. Kind of cool, different feeling, and a very comfortable ride. But I really didn't enjoy driving the car. Like it really made the car really showed how heavy it was, even though it was comfortable, but even going at high speed, any maneuvers, like anything fast, I was so worried like this car might flip, even though it didn't feel like it was gonna roll over. It just, and I want you guys to think I was speeding. It's just the feeling the car gives you. It was just too soft. It was like I was driving on Play-Doh or driving on powder. Like you just know that the handling sucks. But anyways, pretty much it has a 5.6 liter V8, which sounds pretty good. It can tow 8,500 pounds. Depending on your lifestyle, this car can fit into it. And that's a 7-seater, 8-seater. So you really can't beat this car, but you don't need to get the newer one. You can get the older one or even the Armada. Infiniti M45 third generation. I'm not gonna lie, this is the one car I did want to really own really bad. I wanted to own this car over my 2007 G35X because, well, it was nicer at that time. But even now, that time has gotten older. I'd rather own an M37 or a G37. Like this car, when it came out, was good looking, but it's now too dated. It's too boxy now. Like you can get it. It's like having it. Pretty much This is like having a Maxima with all-wheel drive. It was very similar to the Maxima's interior, and that's the feeling it gave you. So that's how dated it felt, because the Maxima was from 2004, 2005, and has a very kind of similar layout to that too. So really don't like that when it comes to that car. So, but it's dated based on the architecture and the lines of the car. But pretty much you could get this car in a V8, 4.5 V8, all-wheel drive or road drive. You can also get an M35, a V6, the VQ motor, all drive, road drive, and also you can get an M35H, I believe, 3.5 with a hybrid rear. I could be wrong. I'm sorry. I'm probably wrong. I might be thinking about the newer body, the fourth generation. But anybody in the comments below, double check me just to make sure I'm right. The Infiniti Essence. I remember seeing this car before. The concept was 592 horsepower, rear-wheel drive sport coupe, unveiled at the Geneva Auto Show in 2009. It was built to show off the design cues and technology that would be making in its production cars. And the car featured a hybrid gas electric powertrain that could run on pure electric power at low speeds, allowing zero emissions travel. It also debuted a number of cutting edge driver assist features, pretty much that was shown off in 2009. I remember this car. Pretty much a lot of these body lines are used like in the G37 and any pretty much any vehicle, like the lines and everything. The styling cues came from this car. They didn't follow anything with the powertrain, but the design cues, like just look at that arch right there. Just the arch that's by the rear window. A lot of that stuff was used on their Infiniti vehicles even up till to this day. So it was just a design cue that they were looking for. Infiniti FX50. Shout out to the FX50 gang. It don't even have to be FX50. Just say FX, FX35, XF45, FX50. But in this case, they said they liked the FX50 because it was a V8. I believe it was a one time they only made it a 5-liter V8, which was more it was off their, I believe, road car, race car, 5-liter motor. Someone's gonna comment below. From what I remember, that 5-liter was more of a race engine, and they put it in the FX50. So it's really a one-off car. Like if you get an FX50, like you kind of have a car that's kind of super rare, and the motor is kind of from the lineage of racing, which is super dope. But they put in a crossover. But nonetheless, I think this is one of the cars that sold pretty well. And in the crossover game from back then, this was one of the hottest cars to have. Now, they suck. They tried to make the QX55 take over this, and they did a terrible job at it. There was no lineage there. But this car did 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds, and it competed with the X6. There's nothing else really here I can really speak about, but I'm just giving my own personal preference. Infiniti Q60 Black S, another prototype. Pretty much the same. Remember, I have an Infiniti Q6. Well, had an Infiniti Q60 3.0T, but pretty much this car got the same VR30 motor that's in there. The same 7-speed automatic, all-wheel drive. No, all-wheel drive, but it had an electric motor on its rear axle because it used it was going to be the one of the first cars with a electric assisted turbo motor. So pretty much it was electric motors on the turbos. So when it's low boost or low RPM, it can spool up the turbos with electricity, and then the exhaust gases take over. Also, the car was regenerative, so it actually recoups a lot of the energy and disperses it whenever it needs it. Like it's pretty much the car tries to keep as much power, electric power, as it can, and stores it, and it also sends it to the rear axle with that electric motor. So it's a system that works however it works. But as I said in my other videos, for anyone who watches, this car, I bet you this car is going to be this car was just a benchmark for the new GTR. That's all they did. And now this technology, similar technology, pretty much the same technology, is going into the new Mercedes C63 and C43 um, cars. So they're going to be the first ones to the market with an electric assist turbocharger. Sorry, Infiniti, you took too goddamn long. But nonetheless, this car was going to be 563 horsepower with the electric assist. All right. Infiniti JX35. Honestly, I think these cars sold quite well. I saw a lot of people with them. I'm not personally a fan of it, but it pretty much just looks like an FX, and they just smoothing it out and made it like a minivan crossover looking thing. It's actually a pretty comfortable car. It drives really nice and it's quite reliable. I just I personally don't see that much of them now, or maybe I just don't notice them. But I think they blend in so much now. I never really cared to even look. But it's a nice car. It's pretty much the Nissan Pathfinder, but just a JX version. All right. Ooh, Infiniti i30. So pretty much this is fourth generation gang here. So Infiniti i30 is pretty much the Nissan Maxima fourth generation. Love this car. I don't care when no one says I love this car. This car is torquey V6. This was pretty much my first car. The Nissan Maxima version, of course. But this car had like a pretty much a good amount of luxury. I believe it had rear heated seats and like rear sunshade. That might have been for 2001 and up or 2000. But a lot of luxury was put into the Infiniti version of the Nissan Maxima back in the day. Let's see if they actually speak about any of that. The car was well appointed, especially with optional leather package added, plenty in-car tech to ensure driver and passengers was always optionally comfortable, eight-way power adjusted seats, lumbar support. Remember, this is stuff that they didn't really have back in 1995, 1996. So this car had a lot of stuff. Like they even, some Maximas, you ain't gonna believe me, were optioned with a cell phone. Yes. Like 1995. Like seriously. I'm telling you, it's crazy. Um, but it was one of the best motors. That was the first time the VQ was like really. Well, that was like one of the best VQ motors ever made. The VQ30 DE, and that motor, like, I still think that's one of the best motors out there. Like, I trust that motor. If you maintain that car, that motor still runs right now. That made 1995. It is. It's about to be 30 years. What? 20 years? 30 years later, you can still find fourth gens running on the road with no issues, no problem. As long as they did the oil changes, 300, 400, 500,000 miles. Love this car. If you can find one that's not rusty and don't have a goddamn what's the, yeah, I always get this check engine light for knock sensor and EGR codes. Oh my god. Infiniti QX60. This car just came out. Like it just came out. So Infiniti has developed an old generation QX60, okay, and has lived up and as a model one of the brands with over 400,000 units already sold over its lifespan. Really? They sold 400,000 units of this car already? I'm gonna look into this. The aim of the new car is to reportedly to move the QX60 market to compete more directly with cars like the BMW X5 and the GLE class. This is a nice car. I've seen it in person. Um, the fake exhaust tips kind of suck. It just looks weird how they have it, but it's a good looking car. But it's probably cheaper than the GLE and X5. But the thing about it is, I like turbo cars. And where I think they missed the game was missed the ball with, and once again, Infiniti went with reliability when it came to the powertrain. I care about powertrain. So they decided to put the 3.5 liter VQ in there, a motor that they still say they were going to move away from. So they went with the best motor they can that's going to be reliable. So 300 horsepower V6 motor. Nowadays, it's not going to give you much gas mileage. It's still a V6. But what I do like is that they put the new 9-speed automatic transmission in there. So that was one of the things that I like that Infiniti did. They chose to not add a CVT to this car and actually adopt the 9-speed transmission that they have in the other Nissan vehicles too. So I like that they're actually going ahead with that. And hopefully they do something like that with the QX55 and the QX50, but they probably won't. They're probably going to leave the CVTs in there until those cars get refreshed completely. But nonetheless, this car is well equipped, well optioned. But once again, I think it came too late. This car should have came like 2020, 2019. They took too long to make this car. And honestly, because I like turbo cars, I think they should have made two different trim levels, maybe, possibly. Personally, I wanted them to put the VC turbo compression ratio turbo motor in there because it makes right around the same amount of power as the VQ motor, and on top of that, it has more torque. So the car will actually feel more peppier, and it has very similar and/or more better gas mileage. But they didn't do that. They went with the safer route. The common complaint about the previous QX60 was the annoying CVT transmission. See, tell you guys. G37 Coupe. Honestly, I think if we're gonna put this in order, the G37 Coupe should be at the top. Personally, that's my own personal opinion. It should be at the top because the styling is amazing. It's timeless. This car is literally timeless. I love the G37, but even with the Q60 replacing the G37, like both of those cars still look great. Like, yes, the Q60 is fire, but the G37 is just as nice. Like, they did an impeccable job with this car. You can get it rear wheel drive, you can get it all wheel drive, you can get it drop top, you can get it excuse me, rear drive, all wheel drive, drop top, you get it manual and automatic. Like, they gave so much options for this car, and the VQ runs quite well, with the exception of the gallery gasket up to 2020, 2023. But nonetheless, the VQ motor runs very long, very for a very long time. Shout out to them. Once again, they said all the stuff I needed to say here. It competed with the 3 Series, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds flat, which is really good for 2008, without turbos. Um, Let me see here. Nothing else really popping up right now. Let's move next. We got one more car, Infiniti Vision's Gran Turismo. I remember seeing this car, but so I'm gonna just read it, but I don't know too much information. Every few years, the design team at video game developers invite a new batch of manufacturers to design cars, especially for the iconic racing game Gran Turismo. In 2014, it was Infiniti's turn, and the car makers responded by creating one of the most jaw-dropping designs to date. With swooshing lines, race-ready aero, Infiniti Vision Gran Turismo featured a 4.5-liter V8 with a hybrid technology, near-perfect weight distribution, 45-55, between the front and rear, and it was designed purely for the track, with particular focus on aero and to provide plenty of downforce at high speeds. This car looks freaking amazing. At first, the concept was unrevealed in digital form only, and then Infiniti also revealed the real life version in Shanghai motor. Unfortunately, the show car was not functional, but it drew plenty of attention nonetheless. It's a shame that the brand never developed a road legal version, even if it was only a one-off. Infiniti would do well to learn from long-term rival Lexus, which lost money on every LFA it sold, but doing so, it brought huge amount of publicity for the brand and drew more customers to the mainline vehicles. Infiniti declining sales point to urgent new revive the brand's image, and finally taking the plunge in making the low volume Halo car could help draw attention back to Nissan's struggling luxury arm. So that's the last car. I think that's a good way to end it here because there's no other cars, nothing else to talk about. This is something else. Top 6 supercars under $200,000. We ain't got the type of money. I like what they said here. And I think that's what Infiniti messes up the most at now. They don't have a Halo car. They don't have a top car. There's nothing that brings you to Infiniti like, yo, I really love their cars. People went and bought Nissan products because they like the GTR, they like the 370Z. Like, if you ever look at the styling cues of the 370Z, the same styling cues and sometimes similar headlight design and taillight designs are on their Maximas, on their Ultimas. So like, people love the idea of how the 370Z looks, and they get some of that look on their regular sedan vehicles. So knowing so, Infiniti doesn't really have that. Like the Q60 was a nice car, but they cut it. The QX70, they don't want to know what they were going to do with it, so they cut that 2 years ago. And the QX50 still running, and even then they started updating a little bit, but even then they still don't even add in the proper LED strip lights from the Q60 onto the Q50. Simple modifications like that would have just updated the car, but they still chose not to do so. And if you think about their crossovers, they were all over the place. They cut the QX30, which is pretty much a Mercedes, right? Mercedes car. All right, cool. The QX50, I don't really like the car that much. Really don't. The QX55 does look good, but the drivetrain sucks. The QX60, nice car, but once again, they don't have a peppy turbo motor, but they do have a better transmission than the QX80, which still has a V8. Once again, they still haven't downgraded to a VR30 motor. They can put a VR30 twin turbo motor in there, but once again, they sticking with reliability for now. They're keeping it safe. There's no Halo cars for Infiniti in 2022, and from what they've been talking about, because I probably already dropped the video talking about it, already, their future is just such a big question mark. Like, what are they really going to bring to the market that are going to make people run to them and want to buy their cars? Like, because I'm not going to lie to you, these are the BMWs look nice. Acuras look nice. Mercedes look nice. Other competing brands are making good-looking cars with better drivetrains and very similar features and or more up-to-date interiors. So Infiniti, even then, when you sit there and think about it, maybe at least their cars be a little cheaper. No, not really. I mean, it's close to the same price. When I used to purchase any one of these cars or drive one of these cars, you felt like you're still driving something a little special. Q50s felt special, even though it was a high volume car. But even now, when it's been dragged out, it's not the same. G37s felt special, and I still feel like they're special. They got their own place, But nonetheless, this is just this is shout out to Slash Gear. Guys, comment below, tell me what you think. Honestly, I'm gonna leave you with my top 3. I think the best Infiniti vehicles in all time is, to me personally, the G37 is number 1. I'll quote this list. G37. I think number 2, it is definitely the Infiniti Q50. I'm sorry, Infiniti Q50. And number 3, I would say personally, the number 3, as much as I want to pick those prototypes, I don't want to put the prototypes in the list because that's just not fair. People didn't have it. I would say, this one's hard. I would say the Infiniti M35, M45X, M45. I think those are the top 3 vehicles Infiniti came out with of all time, in my personal opinion. But guys, comment below. Tell me what your top 3 is. Outside of that, sorry for making this video super long. I don't even know how long this video is. How long is it? How long you guys been looking at my face? Oh my God, almost half an hour. So otherwise than that, guys, you have a good morning, good afternoon, good night. Thank you for hanging out with your boy Boost. If you didn't have the like button, please hit it now. Much love and thank you. So you guys, I appreciate you guys. You have a good day. Thank you everybody for watching. Do appreciate you guys. Love you guys very much. You can also check out the 2 links I posted for some of my other videos. Also on top of that, if you want to purchase some BoostinMotion merch, definitely check the link that I posted also. And finally, if you've been watching all my videos and you enjoy them, please hit the link to subscribe to my YouTube channel.